uh, Kliksphilip, or his recent video, which is the 2023 Kliks Empire Analysis. Now, Kliksphilip is a YouTuber with a variety of different YouTube channels, and this video is just, well, he usually does these like kind of yearly empire analysis series, showing off like what his successes are, where he thinks the market's going, what he thinks about his entire Kliks empire, which I think is a really good perspective, or at least to me has been a really excellent perspective on content creation or media creation overall. So let's give this a watch. We'll see what he says. I've already seen most of it and listened to a whole bunch of it as a podcast, but here we go.
Tom Scott's recent YouTubing retirement, sort of, is something I can probably relate to better than most. Granted, he was more successful than I was, had a more consistent upload schedule, and I don't intend to move on just yet. So there are a few differences, but I understand the feeling of doing your dream job for long enough that you no longer fear the regret of not having done it for long enough, and instead begin fearing that you'll regret it should you do it for too long. So I've been trying to distance myself from YouTubing somewhat. I want YouTube to remain in my life though, but I don't want it to be my life. Because what got me into YouTubing in the first place were my other plans and dreams. And although I have become a YouTuber now, I still have plans and dreams beyond simply making YouTube videos, but many of these will still benefit from a YouTubing presence, and my future YouTubing presence will benefit from my future plans and dreams. I've just got to strike a balance in the meantime to maintain my viewer base, because it does drop very quickly if I take a break. Meanwhile, I suspect Tom's audience will still be there no matter how long he waits. 2023 was a limbo year for me. It was the year I stopped looking to the future and simply focused on closing up the past. At the start of the year, that involved the digitization of my family's VHS and DVD archives. Then it passed with little fanfare and I had to find something else to do with my life instead. So I then finished off a bunch of half-finished YouTube videos. And then, probably the best example of this 2023 cleanup that I have is with Audio Crime 2, which was a music album I released at the very end of the year in December. I had over a decade of half-finished songs on my hard drives. Their existence held me back, preventing me from starting any new stuff. Yet the thought of having to work on these pre-existing tracks sapped my enthusiasm so much that I didn't bother. My music making journey was in limbo. I could have just ignored my older songs, or deleted them and started afresh. These sound like easy solutions, but the issue is in my head, and it can only be remedied by finishing them before starting on something new, else I start an endless cycle of never finishing anything. So no, instead I forced myself to finish these tracks, and to get them out as an album. And I enjoy.
Yeah, getting all the VHSs over is crazy. It's a huge project. Like, it's not that easy. You can't just copy video footage over. I think we do have family footage somewhere, but my family is not the best at taking care of, like, data. So it might be in a box somewhere. One day, hopefully, we can recover them, but I don't know if it's going to be a viable thing, unfortunately. Lots of photo albums, though. Tons and tons of photo albums. Hopefully we can digitize those at some point.
My love for those songs returned, and my passion for music making reignited. And despite me having taken an incredibly long break since starting on these tracks, I somehow felt like I had improved in that time, and I found different ways of finishing all of them. And I now have a finished album that I can show for my troubles. If I died tomorrow, I would have many regrets, but unreleased music wouldn't be one of them. That's so incredibly important to me, as is the knowledge that if I ever feel truly lost and miserable with my life, then writing a new song might cheer me up. And so I start 2024 with a blank space in my mind where all the clutter of half-finished tracks used to be. Am I buzzing with enthusiasm to embark on my next album? Not just yet. For now, I'm quite happy just to have a space in my mind. That's freeing enough, but any future plans I do have will no longer be blocked by past commitments. I've memed for years that the longer I spend on a video, the worse it does, and Audio Crime 2's video is the dankest example of this so far, being the sum of a decade of work and not a small video project itself, yet it's been one of the worst performing videos Kliksphilip has made in the last decade.
I've definitely noticed that, and that's a really weird thing. The more effort I put into a video, the more I really want that video to be something, less views it gets overall, which I want to point out is that there's like a conflicting idea between what the content is versus like forcing different types of content onto a different platform. YouTube over time has gotten a lot more low quality, or like there's a lot more rant videos, people just talking. But I also feel like YouTube is more of a social media platform than it is a video content platform. High quality videos, I think, would like in some cases could also be put on some other form of system where they're not the exact same cameras, lighting, that are not the exact same as like, or not put on the same level as things like rant videos. Because for example, I put up a video that I spent 20 minutes talking about something, just standing here blabbering in a way what I feel is just blabbering, just talking about the things that I like and dislike about something, and it gets 2,000-3,000 views. But when I put together a curated, framed setup video, it does maybe 100, 200, which is a little bit discouraging. So I do see the use in it. I do see YouTube becoming more of like a social media platform, and the use of those videos as a social media thing, or like at least that's where they should be incentivized, is to have more social media style videos, and then have curated videos on some other system of whatever. But who knows? Again, this is more of like a YouTube thing than it is a viewership thing, because people love viewing longer quality videos, but those are also going to be your dedicated viewership. There's an odd conflicting idea between needing more views when possibly you just need higher quality, right? Those that are viewing your content, and I'll point this out, Culprit, for example, with my stuff, I don't have 1,000 people watching me every video, but with your support, with the other community's support, I'm making like the equivalent of a 10,000 viewer video every month, right? Just with your support, because I have a higher quality, for me, higher quality relationships per viewer, as opposed to be going for larger viewership. But if you're focusing on a platform, Kliksphilip does talk about this a little bit, focusing on the business side of things, sometimes you do need to direct things towards what the platform wants, because there's, yeah.
But I know Audio Crime 2 will be greatly appreciated by a small percentage of my viewer base, who will now finally have closure for a number of music tracks that they may have heard in various forms since their childhoods. Audio Crime 2, a major success, but a YouTubing failure. YouTubing failure. That sums this analysis video up in a nutshell. I would say that my plans in 2023 have been great successes in every way but my YouTubing career, and it puts me in a difficult position now I have to analyse it in this video. Doing this kind of analysis seems like a great idea when there's positive stuff to talk about. The positivity practically creates itself. But when all my stats are dropping, the opposite happens, and there's no way for me to make this video sound anything but negative, else I'd sound deluded. So it's fair to say that my channels have done terribly in 2023. I'm not challenging that notion. I've done the same stat recording that I've always done, but I feel less need to talk about it in this video because it's pretty obvious that something big is wrong, and there's no point in scrutinising the nuances. It's kind of like analysing a red warning light in a room full of red warning lights. The question is, what do I do about this? I personally think that
in a room full of red warning lights, you need to find the most important light, right? It means you have too many red warning lights. Now, just to frame more perspective on what Kliksphilip is talking about this entire video, in terms of what's considered classic success, that's where he wants to be completely transparent that everything is a failure, even though he's doing things that he feels structurally are quality releases, quality services, quality videos. Now, who knows how it will last in the long run, because high quality content generally lasts longer. It's more of evergreen content. So that's what he's going to be framing things as. Now, he is very negative throughout the whole video, but keep in mind, it's an analytical negative. There's a time and a place to say things are successful when they're successful to you versus saying, are they successful to what's considered the traditional industry?
YouTubing is becoming less about individual creators and more about teams of people. Tom Scott identified that, saying that it's taking up all his time already, and in order to grow bigger he'd need to consider hiring a team and becoming a manager, which he doesn't want to do. The channels I'm now up against with my own channels are typically companies and YouTubers with a team of editors behind them. at the very least. Yet I'm still going at it solo. My stats seem to drop every year, and I'm painfully aware that I'm not outputting the same amount of content that I used to. When I look at the hours I invest, it's not through lack of effort. I do just think the standards are rising, as was shown recently when I released a video on Kliksphilip that I made in 2017, and people immediately noticed that drop in quality. I'm getting better, I just might not be keeping pace with everybody else. The one thing a YouTuber doesn't want to hear is when people say he's burned out, or that his content isn't what it used to be. I have less motivation than I used to, sure, and getting endlessly attacked online for petty stuff does get me down, and I have less patience for that sort of stuff than I used to. But I've always received comments saying that I'm not as good as I used to be, and a lot of the time, with hindsight, it's clear that it's just that person who's changed and is no longer interested in my content, or that I've offended them with something else and now they hate everything I do. So now I have to ask, is there any truth to this statement?
This video gives me a really good perspective about how content creators look at their content and comments. I, as somebody who does small stuff online, I get negative comments all the time. Something you don't realize as a content creator is you get non-stop negative feedback. Why? Well, the reason why is because it's not the chefs that are critiquing your cooking, it's the patrons, right? So if they've eaten somewhere that's way better than what you're providing, they can easily compare and contrast. They can be like, well, this is not as good as whatever I liked. This is not something that I've had better over here. But the question is like, how are they better? Well, they have way more experience than you. But also, why are they comparing it to the best of the best, right? Like, are they comparing it to the average? Or are they comparing it to what? So the fact that Kliksphilip even makes videos about this, showing like what he's looking at, what his attention is on, shows that a lot of these negative responses, even for a large YouTuber who I bet you he could make a full-time living just like opening up his wallet to people throwing money at him, he's still really, I'd even say insecure about the comments that are negative, the comments that are critical about what he's doing and what he's building. And that'll happen all the time, because that's, people will love stuff and they won't say a thing and they'll walk away, and then they'll hate something, they'll say something, and you end up having to deal with that.
Or am I now actually burnt out? I don't want to delude myself into thinking everything's okay if it isn't, but if the problem is with me or with the videos that I'm making, can I be objective about those things? I'm probably in the worst position to do that. You, my viewers, are collectively in a better position to be able to do this. Take this Twitter message I received saying that my content has been lacking and I've nuked Kliksphilip this year by not making content about other games. These sorts of comments are hurtful, of course.
And that is always weird, I want to point out. Anybody that really focuses on your releases, of course there's something to be disappointed and to feel like an emptiness without the video, but to go the step further, like if somebody stops doing something, if a series just stops, yeah, it hurts, but to reach out to go tell them to do more, or to that they've killed the thing that they made in the first place that you love, I don't know.
But they're also very...
But I'll point out too, he's commenting that these people are reasonable speakers. I don't find them reasonable. I think they're giving Kliksphilip too much of a hard time, and I see comments like this where, like, I think it's giving me too much of a hard time to give for someone who makes content for free or makes stuff for people to watch. And so I don't know. If I was to tell this YouTuber any one thing, is that these people, while they matter a lot, in the grand scope of like figuring out what's going on with your content, right? Figuring out whether or not you're burnt out, but also, like, they matter as long as your thing is working, as long as you have some form of sustain, right? Sustain is more important than like the immediate one thing after another. Even though you can gain way more wealth as long as you focus on like the next thing, but if you focus on all the things, it's a much more valuable process, or feels like a much more valuable process.
For me to almost use like a mirror. Maybe there is a nugget of truth to this comment somewhere, and perhaps discussing my thoughts with the person making this comment will yield something positive.
My camera just keeps wigging out. I'm just making sure it's not.
That I can learn from. Well, I start by responding by posting evidence that I have covered other games this year, because that's literal fact right there. I then look at these videos myself and think the time I spent making these 3 videos amounts to about a month of my life. They involved pushing myself into the unknown, and I'm very happy with how they've all turned out. But clearly, this guy is not. Or if he is, then it's being outweighed by the other content that I've made, or maybe the content that I haven't made because I chose to make these instead. So then it becomes a question of, was it worth spending 1/12 of my year on these 3 videos? Had they all gained enough views, perhaps? Millions, maybe? Then the answer would be yes. But since none of them have even reached 100,000 views just yet, then it's pretty obvious that they were not worth making, when the 4 hours I spent on another video this year gained more views than all 3 of these videos put together. That isn't to say that all views are equal. I care about getting 1 million short video views less than I do 100 real views on my Audio Crime 2 video, for instance. But at the end of the day, I do YouTubing, and this career is measured in reach and influence. And for a month of my life to equate to fewer than 300,000 views is, at the very worst, a failure, and at the very best, an honourable sacrifice, where I prioritise my passion projects over what's actually best for my career. When I say I'd be better off dropping the quality and upping the quantity, people feel the need to argue with that, as though I'm selling out or giving up. Top quality stuff is really idolised as a notion, but it doesn't make sense in practice. It's clear that investing so much time into a single video such as this one is incredibly risky, and may not benefit my channels at all. And even if a video will be highly successful, and I could spend a month making and polishing that video, it doesn't mean that it will need that, or even benefit from that amount of time invested into it. So no, I'd call these 3 videos a massive waste of my time, even if I'm proud of them and will watch them back for years to come. And get this.
Hopefully you're still looking, culprit. This is going up as a video anyways. I know we're going to go for a while because it's a larger video. But I think this is a lesson that we learned quickly with the shorts, right? Not to say that I was right. Not to say that I was right. I said that sometimes quantity is quality, and you said you never heard that. I remember this clearly because this is something where you can pick like a midway in between, where like this is what he's talking about, is what level of quantity and quality allow you to reach the people that you want to reach. How do you build the things that you want to build while doing it in a limited process, right? Because I can spend infinite amounts of time on a video, and I'll even point out I'm currently sinking way too much time into something. This video is not going to get any freaking views. It's going to get like 200 views, 300, probably more because I've done some fun editing stuff. Maybe 1,000. I don't even think it's going to do anything. But I'm putting way too much work into it right now, and I know this because every time I put a lot of work into it versus doing a rant video, I get 1 million. The difference is huge. It's massive. So it's a weird lesson, and that's why I really like what you've been doing with your shorts. I really like that. Just for the video context, culprit in chat, he's utilizing the Twitch to YouTube short system quite a bit more, and I think it's really nice. I think I get to see updates on what he's doing. I think this is the coolest thing, and I don't know if he realizes this, but I get to update on what his community is doing on different like events and different streams, and I don't watch the streams all the time. Usually when he's streaming, I'm trying to do something else, and I'll pop in and say hi. But like, I can't always be there for every fun moment, and even the kind of like lower quality but still like informational clips are good. Culprit said he thinks doing them allows you to find out what works, as long as you are changing them to find out what it needs. It's helping in TikTok, however, it doesn't help YouTube. They're different platforms. I understand, like, it as a, but I watch them on YouTube. I'll point this out. I'm a boomer. Shorts are my thing. I watch your shorts on YouTube. So even though it's working on TikTok, you're getting double value, right? You're getting your double value. Even you're not putting tons of effort into each individual short. But to me, it like from an outsider perspective, even though I've been with you with your community for forever, right? These little things that I see, they bring me more into that community. They bring me more into the ideas of what you're doing, how you're building it. So even though, like, actually, let's just do paint for a second. Paint. Why did paint 3D? I need to show this, even though whatever. So let's say you have your graph. Okay, and we have this height is quality. wall. Okay. And this this graph, actually, wait, how would I do this? Yeah, we'll do that way. Okay, quality, and this one is price. Okay. You would think as price goes up, quality goes up, which is true. Absolutely true. But forget about the axis of time. Time axis goes off to the distance. Okay. And this graph, when you have low quality and low price, actually have a marker for lots of time. Okay, this is like I'm trying to do as a graph. This is hard to envision. Or 3D. Okay. That means that you can stack more low quality and low price items and serve more of those over time. And those all together, if you take the chunk of this one, the bottom chunk and the bottom chunk and the bottom chunk, and you add them all up, the total of all of the things that you've released is that of a quality service. Now, this is a capitalist. Capitalism. This is the foundation of the idea of capitalism. Because what you're able to do is you can pick any section along the time, this time axis, and you can decide where within that balance am I sitting. Am I going to be doing high quality, high price, okay, but it gives me absolutely, well, no, I mean, say it gives me no time, meaning I have no extra time to do more things. It's going to take up all of my time. That this sliver is one product, one like visual product. If you think about a streamer, the average streamer without all their YouTube channel section, the average streamer is really low price, low quality, but they have tons and tons of tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of time, so they can just spit it out like crazy. The really successful ones try and find a nice niche where they do spend a few hours, 5-6 hours streaming, setting up a video, an idea, what they're doing, what they're building, and then they structure it and they put it up on YouTube. But it's not like a movie. It's not movie quality video content, but it is it's enough that that the entire amount of stuff that you're releasing equals up to the amount of enjoyment that a movie quality video would provide. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what we'll keep watching. It's a long video, but that's really what you can do with every single product that you're doing. So if you're working in any market, let's say you're working in toothpicks, all right? You'll have a diamond toothpick that takes a long time to make. Oh, my camera just crashed. Come on, camera. Come on, there we go. Oh, we're just going to do a quick reset then. You have a diamond toothpick that takes a long time to make, and you serve only like 1 or 2 people with that. Or you have a million toothpicks. Oh, maybe the server is crashing. Or you have a million toothpicks that serve a lot of different people. And then you can get the same profit out of them. Same level of profit. Something's crashing here.
This guy ends up saying how much he liked those videos that I made. So what's going on here? This is what's wrong. It's the 3. I think he might have appreciated and remembered Kliksphilip's 2023 content better, had I spent 30 days making 30 smaller videos than had I made these 3 bigger ones. And this is a person who liked all of these videos. What if somebody else didn't like them or didn't even bother to click on them? If I spend weeks on a single video and a viewer doesn't even watch that video, that's weeks of wasted effort on my part, and weeks of nothing for that viewer, who may very well be excitedly waiting for my next video that I do that happens to catch his fancy. This is why you can have too much quality. I need to make more quantity simply to be able to cater to all the different whims and interests of my fanbase. Welcome to this week's recap. Let's start from the end for once. I used to be the opposite. I used to make several videos a day. I certainly don't do that anymore. Don't think I could. And I'm not saying I should return to doing that again, but I do think the sweet spot is somewhere between where I am now and where I used to be. With increased video quantity, I stand to earn a bigger place in my viewers' lives. I'd be more memorable and would gain more chances to leave an impression. YouTube used to suggest to me that I released a video once a week, at the very least. That doesn't mean I get a view a week, merely one chance a week for each viewer of mine to decide whether or not they want to watch me this week. I don't regret making these videos. At the end of the day, I'm a person too. I don't want to mindlessly churn out content that I don't care about. And with these videos, I got to do stuff that I enjoyed, and I created fond memories from the adventures I went on. Kliksphilip's content is a great way for me to justify the time I take investigating the games and topics that I cover, and I'm very proud of how these 3 videos of mine turned out. I do genuinely believe Kliksphilip is still a channel driven by passion for...
I don't watch these videos. That's the problem too. I'm not a part of this market, but I love this guy's content. He makes an excellent series of videos for the things that I love, and I'm sure if you really love these games, watching this is a terrible freeze frame, by the way. Starfield, this is gross. This looks like PS2 era. Anyways, like I'm not the market for this. So he did flip markets in a way, but also his channels sort of flip markets too. So like you have to build content for the medium, it looks like. It's just like if you're watching TV, well, you have to be able to make a show that runs in the specific deadline. So you have to set up characters that work a certain way and scenes that work a certain way. So there's a little bit of a bias to the way that media works on TV and back in the day. So when like cable TV was the only thing out there, everything was catering to that medium. But now that we have stuff on YouTube, as actually too, for example, like Twitter, if you take a look when Twitter first came out and that kind of like quick note release style, when Twitter first came out, the news companies hated it. Like people riled against Twitter. They hated the fact that anybody could just take a picture, tweet something wherever they were, whenever they were, and talk about whatever they want. But what they didn't realize is that they were competing up against the volume of Twitter, right? They had to spend a lot of time meticulously building individual stories, where Twitter could work at 100 miles a minute and build thousands and thousands of stories, and eventually 1 or 2 of those stories would be the same quality or the same level of kind of return as a really highly curated article. There's good and bad to that. I'm just analyzing the way it works.
The subject matter, which I guess makes it all the more hurtful when people accuse it of being the opposite. When someone points to Kliksphilip and says I'm just riding the latest trend, like that's all I made it for, when it just happens to be the rare instance where one of my interests happens to align with what's popular, that's kind of harsh. For the record, the one time this year I did jump on a current trend was with the GTA 6 trailer. I still had an interest in it, the video was clever and original and served a purpose and helped teach me a thing or two about the game, but ultimately I made it because I knew this video would be popular. And sure enough, it got loads of views until it was almost immediately demonetized and shadow delisted. YouTubing in 2023 is hard. I'm not disappointed in Kliksphilip, no more than usual at least. And he has the excuse that he's been the afterthought this year, just like Kliksphilip was in 2022. 2023 was the year of the Kliksphilip, and it's scary it's taken so long through this video for me to mention that Kliksphilip got Counter-Strike 2 this year to cover, which is possibly the biggest thing to happen to the game since before I even had a YouTube channel, and it's happened to my biggest YouTube channel. I put Kliksphilip on hold for a large part of this year, accepting he'd underperform, but that it would allow me to focus my efforts on Kliksphilip instead.
Which is a problem. This guy was a Counter-Strike YouTuber originally. That was his big claim to fame, or at least originally to other stuff. But his big claim to fame was Counter-Strike. But with games especially, they're very hard to like replicate the level of success game after game after game. Because most people that become really famous off of a single game, they have they have thousands of hours in the game originally before they were ever paid to do it, before they were ever chasing the career. So now that it becomes a career and a new game comes out, they're not playing the game anymore for the game that they love. They're playing the game for the views that they're getting before. And so everything does feel a little bit more deadpan. It doesn't feel like it has as much soul. And this is the reason. It's because it's like, well, before they're doing it for a whole different reason now, right? Some people don't. Some people get away with this. Some people just kind of do whatever they want. But when you realize that your paycheck counts on these things, whole different perspective.
All this extra work, and it enabled Kliksphilip to do ever so slightly better than he had the year before, when his channel wasn't the priority for me to work on. And this extra success was attained through sheer hard work, rather than effortlessly riding a wave of success or anything like that. Kliksphilip released 67 normal videos this year, but I'm going to say he only made 56 because some of these were low effort or just extracts from bigger ones. But that's still one a week, which on top of everything else I've done this year is pretty good going given the size and complexity of some of those projects. Now Kliksphilip's done better than the stats suggest. Kliksphilip gained a fair few more subscribers than he did the previous year, and overall he got more views despite not focusing so much on short videos. I hate them, they do very little to benefit my channels or main content, yet despite caring so little for them, the few shorts I do make still manage to dominate my view count and top the charts this year. If YouTube pushed my regular content as hard as it did my shorts, then I'd be more successful than ever. So it's a personal victory of mine that I got more views than I did last year despite doing as few short videos as I could.
This is where I'm not sure if he's getting some stats confused, because what I would do is I'd actually take watch time from all of that. If we were to consider, like, we have the CS2's menu here, and we have using stairs to exploit explosions, which is 2.7 million. If I bring up the calculator, kind of boring content, boring to do the math, but it's interesting once you get the result. Let's do, so, have to calculator, the seconds, crap, do it on quick. It is 8 mins 57 seconds divided by 47 seconds. So it is 8 minutes 11.42. Okay, so we'll make sure we copy that, and then I'm gonna take 2,700,000, 2,700,000 divided by 670,000. 670,000. A 4.0. So in terms of watch time, did they get better? One sec, my brain, why am I not doing this? So we compared watch time. These are 11 times. This is 11 times the length, but only 4 times value. Is that what we're doing here? I think that's what we're doing. That would be an 11 if we brought that up. Yeah. So pretty much, in terms per second, he's getting less views per second on, unless I'm reading that wrong. I hope I'm not reading that wrong. He's getting less views per second on his shorts.
I really couldn't care less about these things. I didn't even notice a few of them this year gained over 2 million views on this channel until making this video.
Doesn't mean anything,
simply because them achieving that
seconds
had zero impact on the rest of my channel. The most damning thing was that Kliksphilip's most popular non-short video this year didn't even reach 700,000 views, which is about half what the most popular video on that channel normally gets each year. It's more in line with Kliksphilip's best in previous years, and Kliksphilip's best this year was more in line with Kliksphilip's from previous years. That being said, this graph only takes into account the most successful video released that year, and I got a number of videos on Kliksphilip that did still surpass the 500,000 view mark. Interest in CS2 was relatively consistent for months, so this stat isn't as devastating as it may appear, but it is still sad to see when most other CS2 YouTubers my size easily broke the 1 million view mark at least once. I guess from my perspective, if any year was going to be good for my channel, it would have been this one, being a YouTuber who covers Counter-Strike and the Source engine. This was the year when the stars finally aligned, yet despite all the odds, Kliksphilip found a way to faceplant just before the finish line. But I know why I underperformed. I missed the release by being on holiday, then made the first video about it on the menu instead of some hype gameplay video instead. My logic was, if I was going to be late to the release party, then I should at least cover something that nobody else has covered just yet. But maybe there's a reason that nobody else covered the new menu system when they've got a shiny new game to show instead. I just didn't play the YouTubing game properly in 2023. I covered niche topics at a time when I should have been going mainstream. I didn't use exciting titles and thumbnails. And then I made the genius decision to cover the new gore systems, which got my channel demonetized for a while. Those first few weeks after the game's release are so important, and it was infuriating to see so much of that time I had spent making videos suddenly become demonetized and excluded so hard from the recommendations during that critical time. And then even more so when other people re-uploaded those demonetized videos of mine and got more views on their reaction content than I did in the first place.
This is terrible. This kind of thing, what, like, well, kind of what I'm doing, but, I mean, the impact of it. The fact that people are getting more views reacting to videos than they are watching the original video is insane. I believe 100% that if somebody has 10,000 viewers and they watch a YouTube video on Twitch, that YouTube video should get 10,000 views. When, like, as long as the ads are played and everything like that, you're good. Or maybe there's like a license that a streamer can pay for. On YouTube, when these videos go up, if I ever make a video that gets thousands of views that is simply reacting to something like that, I only really want it so people can say hi and I can, hey guys, welcome to my stream, learn who I am. I think that's a totally great concept. But Kliksphilip should get all of the views. He should get everything, like literally everything. This streamer, right? You know, let's see, a Pixel Hub, right? All of these views should go over to Kliksphilip's. Should have 300 and something thousand, more than that, almost 400 something thousand.
Kliksphilip underperformed so much this year, he even underperformed his own videos on other people's channels. But maybe none of this matters, since I did it all for the love of making videos. I made sure each and every one of the videos I made on Counter-Strike 2 was original, well researched, and to a high standard. I covered almost every new map the game received in painstaking detail. I've already covered this when talking about Kliksphilip. It is fine to make passion projects, but I at least have to be smart about the rest of what I make. If I'm going to dedicate a month of my life to a mega project, I still need to find the odd day here or there to make and to release some quick and easy content to tide my viewers over in the meantime. But come CS2's release, I didn't do this, because all that I did do, I did for the love. The one thing about Counter-Strike 2 I covered properly was Office's release. This video right here took maybe 100 hours to cover, but I covered it properly and smartly. Within hours of that map's release, I myself had released a video showing the breaking windows on that map, an easy 100,000 views right there. I then compared new Office against older versions in another quick and easy video, another 100,000 views there as well. I even made a whole video about a fire extinguisher on the wall of that map, and that got 300,000 views. Sure, it
Culp, just breaking the code for merch is the hardest thing. Can you explain that a little bit more, Culp?
was a bit more effort than the other videos, but it was still just a day-long project. A good time investment right there. Then I spent some time working towards releasing my main video on that map, and that scored nearly 600,000 views. And because so much effort had gone into making that one 20-minute epic, I picked 4 interesting bits from within that video to make smaller videos about. Sort of like shorts, but not in short form because they suck. And these mere snippets from the main video together earned me another 300,000 views. I covered Office properly, achieving almost 1.5 million views from covering a single map. That's about 3 times the views I got from any other map that I covered, because for once I did it for the views. Of course there was love as well. You can't spend a day comparing projector shadows or staring at fire extinguisher models without at least some passion for it. But it was one of the few times in 2023 that I was actually smart about my YouTubing. The downsides were that some people were disappointed to find similar segments in multiple videos of mine. It's a shame as well, because people watching all my videos, regardless of the content, are the people that I want to impress the most. But hopefully you can understand why I did this. And then you've got to factor in all the people who only saw one of these videos on Office that I made, thanks to my decision to split them all up and to release them on YouTube with different titles and thumbnails in the first place.
So, Culprit, I think you should go look up Petty Fresh. That is the I think Hila's Ethan and Hila's merch company. Also go look up Philip you know Philip DeFranco's, right? I've seen analysis on on their business model. So Culprit actually is just for the video. Most YouTube and Twitch streamers have huge merch sales that allow them to be full-time. People buy stuff as long as it's quality from good people, right? If you recommend the right thing, you can sell anywhere. So, and as long as you can get the product to your customers, right? There's a difference between going, hey guys, we have a new shirt that says my name on it, versus, guys, we are this crew doing this thing, come represent this thing. And you don't want to do it, it's not manipulative. Screen, not stream, what? We could show you you're looking at Philly D. Yeah, exactly. So, right, it's like, people will buy from you. They don't need to, you're not like tricking them into getting the stuff. You're going, hey guys, I got these shirts. They're pretty damn cool. I tried them out. They're really damn nice. You know, go grab them here. I found a good place where we can sell them at a reasonable price. You know, obviously there's like quick merch stuff, which you charge a little extra for on some random service. But you spend a little bit of time building an actual like clothing business or a pencil business. And that way you can put it also on ads, or you can put it on Google. That's the way that a lot of influencers, I believe, and this is hearing and watching and listening, that's what they do, right? Hey guys, winter's coming. It's gonna be really cold. I got a brand new coat. A brand new coat in the store. And it's a lot of work, of course, right? Setting up the whole merch. It's a ton. I've already looked into it. It's a hell of a lot of work. But that's what they do, right? It's the framing thing. Because a lot of people are like, oh, should you just buy stuff from me? And like, because I want to make money, right? Like, it's not really what you want to do. Well, you do want to make money, but also like find cool products. Like you're part of what you do is finding cool products and sharing them with people. So.
But the rest of the year, I made videos for the love. But just because I'm making stuff for the love of making it, doesn't mean other people will love me for making it. I grew up with Harry Potter, I enjoyed the movies and was really enchanted by the game's depiction of the Hogwarts castles. I believe it is one of the wonders of the gaming world. It is so fantastically made, and even though a lot of the rest of the game is very disappointing, I still think it's well worth getting into and experiencing the game simply for that first dozen hours of student-y, explory gameplay. Unfortunately, a small section of the trans community didn't agree with this, and I sustained a prolonged attack on social media simply for playing a game that mattered to me. In fact, it was simply for upscaling it in a video of mine. Now, I get their point of view, it's just they refuse to see mine. You probably hear a lot of influencers talking about this, and you roll your eyes thinking it's just nasty comments or that it takes two to argue or whatever. But I suppose most people haven't known what it's like to be attacked on such scale and for such extended periods of time, and to know how unjust it can feel. Especially when everyone around you doesn't know and doesn't care to know. It's very isolating to be so publicly attacked in this way. Because my viewer base doesn't know about the drama I'm involved in, and they probably don't want to. But the people who want drama with me have an army, all with a very fixed, black and white view of the situation, and they villainised me and feel self-righteous in their justifications to harass, to bully, and to attack me. There's definitely a thrill to this, to load up social media and to see 150 new messages aimed at me. And to be able to read them all knowing that I'm not in the wrong here. I can see how they're in the wrong, and how transparent their attempts to discredit me are. But all this quickly loses its novelty when they begin to twist the narrative. when there's no one to contest that twisting, and when I simply want to move on and they do not. And especially when other people begin to get dragged into it as well, who don't have a clue about what's happening but who still want to get in on the hating. Because it's fun! I remained silent, so they filled the silence with lies. So I responded, which was immediately twisted and used as justification for attacking me in the first place. Which makes no sense, but that's what happened. And it was disgusting to see them wielding the struggles trans people have gone through as a sword and shield. They were unjustly using the cause for their own means, and they were unjustly villainizing me to create a target for them to attack.
There's actually a huge story behind this whole trans Harry Potter thing going on. It's not... He's kind of running over the surface of the whole thing, but I can only imagine the amount of hate that he got because there's a lot of controversy around it, and during this time he went upload, which good on him. I absolutely support you, Kliksphilip.
It must have been quiet elsewhere for an upscaler of Hogwarts Legacy to be public enemy number 1. That's all I can say. As a moderator of my own subreddit, I suddenly started seeing my submissions getting flagged as hate speech. I have no doubt my activity on Reddit has been flagged elsewhere as well. And then they began posting on Counter-Strike subreddits to try and get me cancelled there as well. It was evil. Simple as that. And yet these people had somehow justified in their minds that I deserved all of this for making a Hogwarts Legacy video. And that's the scary thing, to see how little it takes to turn strangers into people who have literally justified wanting to harm you, and then to see them claim to be the victims. And remember, no one can see my point of view here but myself. I can see how transparent their lies and half-truths are about me, but any onlookers to the situation will clearly have their judgment clouded by the hundreds of people shouting very loudly that I'm bad, and they either won't see my lack of a response, or will take that as an admission of guilt in some way. It's the same playbook every time, and it's increasingly common to encounter radicalized groups such as these on the internet. All because I made a video about a video game that I was passionate about. I didn't want to be coerced into putting a political message at the start of my video like other people did who were clearly fearing retribution from the people who attacked me. I wanted to talk about the game, and despite them claiming otherwise, there is nothing wrong with me doing that. And yet I received an attack that was very unpleasant, very unnecessary, yet also inevitable, once I had chosen to make a video about Hogwarts Legacy. But I just didn't like the idea of being bullied into not covering something I cared about, you know? That being said, Counter-Strike 2's release came at a great time to drown out all this drama and to give me something big and fun to focus on. You'd think covering Counter-Strike as a Counter-Strike YouTuber is about as drama-free as you can get, but if people are unhappy about the state of the game, which they currently are, then I sustain some collateral from that and gain haters from that as well. Luckily, the Counter-Strike community remains about as non-toxic as it's possible to get online, and negative comments accusing me of shitting for Valve are just a gentle reminder that you cannot avoid making enemies these days.
Something different too, that I've noticed other streamers have dealt with this in different ways, but the best way to do this is to fortress up. It seems. Not as a meme, but like, you should have close community members that you build in whatever you build that will that understand all of that you've built so that they can help you walk through whatever you're doing. This is an interesting perspective from Philip, how lonely dealing with an online mob is, even if you're doing something small. Culprit says, you think that creators of the game and the movies shouldn't be hurt by an author? They shouldn't be, but there's a lot of crazy people out there, dude. 1 in a million is thousands of people. Thousands and thousands of people, right? So, especially on the internet, there like even thousands of people can lie to thousands of more people, and all it takes is like 1 or 2 days of that thing spreading really quickly. You have this like strong impact, and that's what happened during this entire thing, is where a lot of people were misrepresented, and there was a big rolling ball of internet hatred, and I don't doubt, without a doubt, there's a lot of people that are really embarrassed to be a part of that right now. So, and it's going to happen over and over for thousands more years. It's going to be a default. The incorrect information waves are going to be a default feature of the internet.
Because for everything there is out there, there's somebody with an extreme opinion about it that you will upset. And then the end of the year approached, the time that ad revenue starts to climb, when it's important for me to prioritise 3Kliksphilip being my biggest channel, with the most chance of outputting successful content. And so I shifted back to 2Kliksphilip again, who played Starfield, which is a game everybody hates, and then for good measure I covered developments in AI generation. It wasn't controversial when I started out covering it, but it has become that this year. But Starfield's the thing I'm especially sad about, because I really enjoyed making content for that game. The game itself has given me zero joy. It's a bitter disappointment that doesn't bode well for the next Elder Scrolls game. But I've had a huge amount of fun exploring the worlds, rather ironically trying to figure out how broken the exploration aspect of the game is. And while only one of the videos I've made has achieved much success on YouTube, I can say I am very proud of what I've made, because I made them for the love of it. So yeah, 2Kliksphilip's viewing and subscriber numbers this year have been abysmal, and I'm not really sure how that's going to change unless I change that channel to be something that I don't want to make content for. In terms of the predictions I made for subscriber growth last year, we can see that 2Kliksphilip has significantly underperformed my expectations. He barely grew at all. 3Kliksphilip matched his growth from last year, which given CS2's release is kind of meh, and Kliksphilip actually outperformed estimates, growing by a few thousand subscribers this year. Thanks everyone. But it's pretty clear by now that my channels have so little growth anymore that it isn't even worth making future subscriber predictions. It felt like they hit a brick wall a few years back. It's not like I need growth. I mean, it's nice to have, it's motivating, it's a sign that I'm doing something right, but my subscriber base is already quite big, and I suppose my expectations have been scaled back so much that it's now a personal achievement to not have lost subscribers since last year. Well done, Click Empire, you didn't shrink this year. We're glass half full here at the Click Empire these days. I used to see how many videos from the year made it into the top 100 most viewed on those channels, which obviously gets more difficult each year as my video count increases and as older videos of mine have had more time to grow their own view counts. And this year, for the first time ever, not a single video I made from any of my channels made it into the top 100 for their respective channels. This was interesting though. On this Kliksphilip channel, it has required just over 79,000 views to reach the top 100 list of the most viewed videos on this channel. And it was the same last year. Both these years, the most successful video of that year has fallen just short of that with 79,000 views. Technically, neither year has had a video that has made it to the top 100, yet if I look back to the video last year that didn't quite make the 100 list, The House the Bitcoin Built, it now has 93,000 views, making it the 82nd most viewed video on this channel now. So while none of my videos this year have made it to the top 100 lists, in the future they may do. It's just I no longer have what it takes to do that the year it's released. None of this comes as a surprise to me. I know my channels quite well by now, and it's been a while since this kind of analysis has helped me point the channels in the right direction. That's not through lack of trying. I'm just all about hunches these days. I feel like it's worth continuing with this video series every year, firstly because it's tradition by now, that I know some of you look forward to, and secondly because it will make for a mega comeback story should I eventually have a positive year to talk about. But aside from the YouTubing failures, I've enjoyed making the videos I've released this year, even when
What I think this is really good with too is it actually sets his entire community. Like when I like to mention just doing a lot of things that allows people to update themselves on what's going on within their service or whatever they're doing. I don't watch all of Kliksphilip's videos, but this is like a really good perspective on how he's doing. I should do something.
First found success on YouTube. Surely some of that enjoyment I had back then must have been from the joy of success and the joy of seeing my views and subscriber counts growing. I have none of that to drive me on these days, so when I enjoy making a video, you know it's got to be pure enjoyment from making that video. It's just that it's all being clouded by an increasingly toxic atmosphere online. YouTubing and social media is definitely changing, and part of me thinks that Tom Scott left at a good time. 2Kliksphilip made an especially good video near the end of the year. No, not the audio crime one, that was good as well. A vertical slice was a true leap into the unknown. I realised that a lot of people watch me for entertainment, and yet my stuff is normally quite educational and boring. So what if I made a video purely for entertainment, in the here and now? Would people listen to 2Kliksphilip babbling about random stuff for the duration of a video? It was incredibly stressful to work on that video, especially without an ending in mind, but it was so satisfying when it all worked out, when I released it, and when people started saying how great this video was. Big success! This right here is one of the best videos I've ever made, though all this still didn't help it to reach 100,000 views. Looking back at last year's Anal, where I talk about creating voids and filling them, it remains even more relevant now than it was back then. I somehow thought all my half-finished projects would be done by last February, yet some still remain with me even now. But it's getting to the point where I feel I have done enough with that to be able to move on guilt-free. I feel I just have Destruction Darius 2 left to go, and one last episode of Going Low. You heard that here first. Anyway, when looking to the year ahead, I always make a plan for it in these analysis videos that I almost immediately discard right away. With that in mind, rather ominously, my plan for 2024 is to have an easy life, where I try to avoid drama, where I play things smartly rather than just work myself to the bone. YouTubing is a job for me, which I do for the love, but equally I've got to weigh that up against the joy I get from success and from not being harassed online. Because even if I don't enjoy spending a day or two on a video project, if it's a popular video, maybe the enjoyment I get from that will outweigh it. As for CS2, well, It depends what Valve does with it, doesn't it? And I notice ever-growing competition with Twitter, which is where a lot of people now get their update news about the game from. This is never quite as in-depth as a 3Kliksphilip video would be, but maybe that doesn't matter anymore. Because like I've said, quantity has its own quality.
And you notice how he mentions Twitter at the very end there, right? Where, like, what he's referencing to, and I believe he's referencing really, is that what's the difference between a YouTube video and a tweet? There's not much of a difference. It's just that you're taking a tweet as the smallest unit of communication about information. So where where does that type of content sit? Well, it's relatively low amount or small amounts of time. It's super cheap. And it's relatively low quality. But you can do tons of them, and you can kind of build ideas off of them. So that's his reference right there. Anyways, excellent video.